All right, so let's go through how we can turn in our page transitions. So the big change here, the big difference, is obviously we have several compositions that we need to put together. We also have this other file that we need to bring into the other one, okay? So our first step is to go into this other file, our title card, and get it ready to be used in other projects, okay? So the first thing we want to do is figure out where our actual one is. If you remember from when we used the title card, we had a playing around, we had a title card 1, maybe 2, 3, 4. You may have had 7 different designs that you came up with. We don't need all of those, we only need the essential one to come in there. So I'm going to go through my area here and just see what's what. So this is my comp 1, I don't need that, so I'm just going to delete it. Yes. This is that Shrek thing, this thing, that thing. I think this is my actual end title card. Yep, that's it. And then number 2 is this, but it doesn't go out, it doesn't close. So I think that's just an extra one, so I'll delete that. I'll double check that this one still works because maybe I imported something and I want to make sure everything's still functioning. It is. I don't need this piece of audio in here. Going through my layers. Anytime you create a solid, it automatically drops in a solid folder and makes that solid up there. And the reason for that is you may have 4 or 5 different colors that you want to use throughout your entire animation. Those solids will be there so you can universally just drop them down. Now with all the stuff I have here, it can be tricky to figure out what's actually being used and what's not. After Effects has this neat thing where if you select any layer in your project window, it'll tell you used one time. Okay, used one time. The purple background, not used at all. Okay, so I'm going to visit this in a second. I'm going to go to my sequences. There's nothing there, so I can just delete that. There's nothing in still, so I can delete that. I'll go into compositions. I'll go to playing around. Okay, I don't need this, so I can just delete that. I shouldn't have anything in audio. I don't have anything in artwork. Okay, so this composition should go in there. All right. So now the only composition is the one that I need. It works, everything's fine. I don't need anything in movies, so I can delete that one. And then in solids, I'm just going to go through, and anything that doesn't say used 1 time, 2 times, whatever, I'm just going to delete it. Okay, that one's not used, I'll delete that. That one's not used, that one's not used. This one's used 2 times, this one's not used. Delete the ones that are not used. Right. The ones that are used are the ones that we use to create our actual animation. And again, before I go any further, I always want to, again, check my stuff. I am definitely not perfect. I've deleted stuff that I've needed before and then had to recreate it or whatever. So you always want to make sure that your stuff is set up, still works. Okay. I'm also going to verify that I have motion blur on. Yep, everything is good there. Cool. So now this composition is all ready to go. This file is ready to go. So I'm going to save this as, I may need to come back. I may not want to actually permanently delete all the other stuff. And I'm going to call this Sarcona, or I'm just going to call it Sarcona title card to be imported. Okay, so that one's ready to be imported into any one of my files. Every project we have after this will be the same process. You will take your title card, that file, we'll import it into our next project, and we'll always have that at the beginning of every single one of those. Even if I don't say it or show it, that's what you will have to do, okay? So now I can go into my page transitions. I will verify that I have my page transitions here. That's that. Go to my compositions. I know I named these. Yes. Okay. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to File, Import, and go to File. Okay. So this is how we can bring stuff into After Effects. And then I just go and find that file. So that's not there. It's in Title Card, to be imported. Okay, so I'm just importing my title card to be imported into that one. Now pay attention to the folders that are over here. When I import it, it creates a brand new folder. Inside that folder is everything that was inside the other project. That's why we want to go through and clean it out first, because we don't want to have 50 folders here, and then another 50 folders, and another 50, and so on. So if I go into this composition, there it is. Okay, so now I've just brought that composition in there. So even if you were to, let's say you did a page transition here, and a page transition there, and a page transition here, you could import all these things into the same file. That's not a huge deal. All right, so now what I need to do is take all of my page transitions and my title card and put them into a composition. So I'm going to make a new composition. Make sure it's 960 by 540. Make sure I'm at 30 frames a second. For the duration, this is going to be a bit longer because we have a 5-second title card, and then we have at least 5 transitions happening, right? And each transition is about 2 seconds. So just for ease of doing this, I'm going to put a minute. So 1, 0, 0, 0, 0. And you can see the time reflected right here. Okay? I'm going to drag this to my regular comps. Bless you. I'm going to drag my title card down. Bless you. And then I'm going to go into my composition where I have all my page transitions. And notice, or remember when I put the word final at the end of it, that word final means it's final, it's done. So I can just drag each one of these into that. If I'm not sure, I double click. I look at it and say, yep, that one is done. I go to the next one. Yep, that one is done. I go to the next one, and so on. Okay? If I find one that I don't like this one, I'll say, nope, that's not final. I'll just remove that word final. That way I know I'm not going to use it in my final page transitions. So then I just zip through. And remember, they all start off at black, nothing on the screen. Something happens, covers the screen, and then goes away. All right. I'm going to close some of these windows here because a lot of these are just getting in my way now. There we go. All right, so I'm going to go to my comp 1, and I'm going to control click all the ones that are final. There we go. What's that? I do have more than 5, right? So that's fine too. You can have more than 5. Okay, so now I've brought them all in here. Now, I'm going to check for a couple things before I proceed to the next step. I want to make sure that each one of these compositions is exactly sized for that transition. Mine are, but I'm just going to pretend they're not. So I'm just going to go to one of my comps here and change the duration to a long time. Okay, so now this one, okay, I get in here, each composition or each page transition is 1 to 2 seconds-ish, right? At least at most 2 seconds. If I get in here and I see something like this, or half that, or a quarter of that, or whatever, it definitely looks out of place. This composition is way too long, okay? So I need to double click it. I need to find where the end of this actually happens. Okay, so this is where the end happens, so I'm going to go a couple frames after. I'm going to hit N, and then I'm going to hit composition trim, okay? Or you can hit Control-Shift-X. Now when I go back to this comp, notice how it's nice and short. That's how all of those should be, okay? So now the next step is pretty repetitive. I go to the end of my title card, right there. And what I want to do is have a little bit of overlap, okay? What I don't want to do is title card's done, there's a black space, and then my page transition comes in, and then there's a black space, and then my next one, and my black space, and the next one. So what I do is I go here like a frame or two before it's done. I'm going to move this above it, and then I'm going to slide this over until they're kind of starting as one's going out. So you can see how the tip of this is coming in as the tail of that is going out. So now if I play this, you can see how it just transitions nice and smooth from one to the next. I do the same thing. I scoot this up. I wait until it's almost gone. This is where your hotkeys can come in. And then I drag the next one above it. I slide it over. And right about there seems like a good spot. So now I have this. nice fluid motion from one to the other. I wait till it's almost gone. I drag the next one up. And then I slide it over. There we go. And the same thing, okay? So you just go through all of your clips, and you can drag them all above it if that makes it easier for you to start it off that way. Right there should be good. And then here. I've also made sure the motion blur is on, obviously, because we need motion blur for stuff. That's good. Drag this one. It's not on here, it's on all my individual comps, right? Okay, it's there. And then drag this one in. Just drag all of these down here. Anytime we're doing an animation, you're telling a story, whether it's a direct story or it's, you know, just kind of making something look fun. So make sure that it kind of reads that way. Because if it comes off looking boring, like you look at it and it's like, wow, this is like, it's killing me to have to watch the rest of this, then you kind of failed at your job. So everything we do should look fun. Yeah, about the end. So right as this one's finishing off, then the next one's coming in. There we go. Okay, so that should be all of them. So now if I were to rewind this, hit home, oops, hit play, there's my title card. And that's it. Okay, so how does the animation look? Good. Anything I need to change? Anything I need to change? Right? So it's no longer title card, right? It's assignment 2, so let's double click. Let's grab this and just put in 02. If you see that you need to update something, like obviously my 02, I'll have to fix that. So I'll fix that in a second. And then these will be page transitions. So I will go to my number 2 here. I'll hit U so I can see my hotkeys. This is where it comes out, so I'm just going to scoot it over some more. There we go. And then I'm going to copy this keyframe, go to this keyframe, and paste it in its spot. Right, the original title card comp. So I didn't open the title card page or file, just that composition we imported. Okay. Some of you may get this. I'm not getting it because I'm perfect, but sometimes you'll get this thing where you have a frame where it's supposed to be stopped, another frame where it's supposed to be stopped, and for whatever reason, there's like a wiggle that happens like in the middle of that, right? So my number 2 comes out, and then it's supposed to hold there, and then it goes back in. So this one's doing it the way it should do it. If yours doesn't and it wiggles, if you right click on the last keyframe here and you go to toggle hold, it will hold that keyframe, meaning that it won't change it. It'll basically do the transition. It'll stay there forever until it gets to that one, and then it'll move out. Okay? So now this should be good. So now let me go to my comps. I will rename this. Final page. I'll put 2 finals on there so I know it's final. I'll make sure that I trim this composition. Now I only used less than 20 seconds worth of a comp. If I needed more for some reason, I can go to my comp settings and add more. If I want to trim it, I can just set my work area and trim it just like we did the other ones. If I click on it, I have to click on it. There we go. Cool. I verify that my motion blur is on. Watch it a couple times if you need to. Everything's moving, motion blur, good. And then we do that same process we did before, adding it to the media encoder queue. All right, so remember, it'll pop up over here. It should say that composition. This one is a longer animation. Our first animation was 5 seconds. This one might be 10 seconds or 20 seconds or whatever it is. So it may take longer to render. So H.264, that's all set up. Make sure I put my name on here, Sarcona, page transitions. Make sure it goes into my output folder. And then hit the play button. Nope, you just click on it once. Yep. And there we go. Okay, so that's page transitions. And then to turn it in, it's the same process. So I'm not going to show this for every assignment. This will be the last time I show this because every other assignment's going to be the exact same thing. Just like making a movie, I'm not going to show you how to make a movie again because I've shown it at least twice. When you turn your stuff in, delete the stuff that I don't need. I don't need the autosave. I don't need the AME. I don't need the files that are your iterations, right? So I had 2 of these here, so Sarcona page transitions 2, that's fine. No reference. There's my output movie. I should probably play it and double check and make sure it plays correctly. Make sure I spelled page transitions correctly. Yep, that's it, good. I don't have anything in movies at this time. I have nothing in audio. I have nothing in artwork. You will have your drawings that you did, your sketches you did for your page transitions. You could either snap a picture with your phone, email them to yourself, save them into this folder, or if you have, there's a scanner. There's one here, and I think there's one in the back maybe. Maybe not. I don't know. You could scan it, obviously, and bring it in. However you want to do that, okay? Or you can staple them to your assignment sheet and put it in the to be graded folder up here. And then this is my final page transitions that I would then drop into the Z drive, 1900, 8 a.m. page transitions. Cool.
So you staple those sketches to the Turnin sheet?
Yeah, you either staple them or you put it inside your artwork folder, however you want to do that. Yep. That's fine. Cool. Questions on the page transitions?